Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Steven. Welcome to video number 5 in this new series where I'm building a login registration system with CodeIgniter. What I want to start this video off by talking about first is I want to show you how you can grab post data from the form or from the function, from PHP, I guess, the same way that you would normally reference like echo post. I'm sure this looks familiar, where you'd say in this case grab email. Now this would actually work if I save this and run it. In the okay, that's only on login, right? So I'll click login, and you'll see and there you can see it's actually submitting. The reason you couldn't see it before is because I'm echoing it out in the login validation function. So now that we're actually in the login validation function, you can see it. There is a CodeIgniter way to do it, and that's what I want to show you how to do. Essentially, it does the same thing, only it's smarter than. Oh, sorry. It's smarter than regular, just grabbing it out of the post array, because CodeIgniter handles it. So you go this, input post, and then here's where you specify which key in the post array that you're looking for. And what CodeIgniter will actually do with this is I believe it escapes values if you're working inside of a database and things like that. So you can it's the same as the set message function with the form validation, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with that one. I might show you in another video. But in this case, essentially all it does is it just grabs that post data out of this array. And so if I refresh this, you can see it just does the same thing twice. But for further use, as far as this series is concerned, I'll be using the post method, the CodeIgniter way of doing it. And that's extremely handy and extremely important in what I'm talking about next, which is custom callbacks in the form validation library. Okay, so how these work is essentially what you do is you write callback underscore and then the name of the new callback that you're actually going to write. So in this case, we're going to say check underscore email, or we'll say actually validate credentials. Cool. Now what this does is this will actually tell CodeIgniter to look for in the same controller for another function or method called exactly what this is, right? So validate credentials is what it's going to look for. Now I'm not going to actually send or receive any variables to this function because I can just grab them straight from the post array using that way I just showed you. So what I'll do is I'm going to reference I guess the first thing I want to do is load a model, which I'm not actually going to show you how to create this time. This load model, we'll call this model underscore users. We'll say if this model underscore users can log in is what we'll call the function. So this should make sense. If you can log in, then return true. Else, we want to this form validation set message of validate credentials to, we'll say incorrect username / password, and then we'll return false. And then we'll actually end this else statement. Cool. Now let me explain this a little bit. Basically, this function will be a method in this model that we're about to create called model users, probably in the next video. which will just evaluate if you can log in with the current credentials. It'll take the username, or I mean the email address, and the password, and check the database to see if there's anywhere where the username and password are what the user entered. Now, if it does find a row, then it'll return true, else it'll return false, which means this if statement will either validate to be true or false depending on what that function returns. Now, if it returns true, then this function, the validate credentials method, is also going to return true. In which case, if it returns true, the form validation library will take that and it'll say, okay, so if this function returns true, that means that there isn't an error. That means that the validation has been completed and there wasn't an error thrown. However, if the validate credentials function, because it's a callback, if it returns false, it will know that there's an error and it'll actually create an error the same way that, like, say, the required field throws back an error. It'll return an error of whatever the message is for that function, which is why we're setting the message of validate credentials to incorrect username password so that it has a message. And I'll just show you how that works really quick. I guess I can actually show you. I'm going to end this video. In the next video, I'm actually going to create this can login function really quick, and then I'll show you how this whole thing works. I just want to keep the video lengths a little bit shorter. Hope you understand. Anyway, clean this up a little bit, and thanks for watching. See you next video.